You might think your favorite sleeping position is harmless. But what if I told you it could quietly steal your memory, your speech, even your ability to walk, all in a single night? As we age, changes in blood vessels and brain circulation mean sleep isn't as safe as it once was. Many older adults keep the same sleeping habits for decades, never realizing they may be inviting a silent stroke into their lives. Today, as a geriatric doctor here in the US, I'm going to reveal 10 sleeping positions with the highest hidden risks and the science behind why they matter. These are life-saving insights you can use to protect your brain, your health, and your future. Before we get into the details, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Senior Life for more essential health tips. Let's explore the first dangerous sleeping position, one that I believe most of us have experienced because it's so easy to fall asleep in. Sleeping position. Prone position, lying on your stomach. Imagine your favorite sleeping posture secretly strangling the blood supply to your most vital organs. As a seasoned U.S. geriatric physician, I've seen this happen far more than expected through stomach sleeping, commonly known as the prone position. When someone lies face down and turns their head to one side, they're literally twisting and compressing the vertebral arteries that snake through the neck, as well as potentially affecting the carotid arteries. In rare but documented cases, this has actually caused strokes known as bow hunter's stroke, even in young adults who slept with their head turned all night. One recent case involved recurrent infarcts in the back of the brain, directly linked to prone sleeping with head rotation. Now, for older adults, this isn't just rare, it becomes a red flag scenario. Aging arteries accumulate plaque, become stiffer, and are more susceptible to small drops in blood flow. Even a tiny reduction, say, under 20%, can wake you up dizzy, groggy, with foggy vision, or trouble finding words. Studies show that prolonged head rotation can measurably reduce vertebral artery blood flow. But the harm doesn't stop at the brain. Lying face down raises intraocular pressure IOP significantly, on average up to 6 mm higher than sitting, and even more in glaucoma patients. One study found prone sleepers had IOP increases up to 17 mm, an alarming rise of over 100% in some cases, and nearly two-thirds had a 33% increase, with 43% seeing 50% rise. Another glaucoma-focused study measured IOPs of 21.3 plus 3.2 matuatomechi in the prone position versus 16.2 plus 2.8 matuatomechi when sitting. A classic volunteer study found awake adults' IOP rose from 13.5 to 20.0 nmol/mh just by lying prone. Combining higher eye pressure with impaired artery flow is a serious threat, especially for seniors already at risk of glaucoma or optic nerve issues. The prone position might feel comfy, but in reality, it's quietly stacking risks on top of aging vulnerabilities. One simple fix you can try tonight is hugging a body pillow. Place it in front of your chest and between your knees. You still get that cozy hug feeling, but your body naturally shifts into a side-lying position, which eases neck rotation and keeps your spine aligned. Adjust your pillow height so your face tilts slightly upward instead of turning fully to one side. This keeps your neck straighter and helps blood flow stay steady while you sleep. If you absolutely have to sleep on your stomach, roll up a small towel and place it just under your collarbone. This gives your upper chest a gentle lift so your head doesn't have to twist as far. Also, skip the habit of resting your cheek on your hand or stacking your arms under your face. That extra pressure can increase strain on your eyes overnight. A few other small habits go a long way. Sip a little water before bed, as long as your doctor hasn't told you to limit fluids to help your blood volume stay stable, and spend a couple minutes stretching and gently turning your neck before lying down. This keeps the blood vessels more open and less likely to get compressed. Finally, pay attention to warning signs in the morning: dizziness, one-sided neck pain, blurred or double vision slurred speech or weakness in your arms or legs. Those aren't just normal aging issues. They can be red flags that your brain wasn't getting enough blood while you slept. In that case, it's worth calling your doctor right away rather than brushing it off. Dangerous sleeping position 2. Sleeping with your head completely covered by a blanket. What if that cozy habit of covering your head at night is silently choking your brain of oxygen and thickening your blood? As an experienced U.S. geriatric physician, I'm here to break down what's really happening when seniors or anyone pull the blankets over their heads. When you cover your head tightly, the air you breathe becomes stale fast. In a mechanical model study, researchers found that with 4 or more layers of blankets over the face, inspired CO2 levels spiked to a staggering 8.3% compared to safe ambient levels of just 0.04%. That's a 200-fold increase in rebreathing old air. Studies with infants reinforce this, showing significant CO2 buildup right under the covers, with higher breathing and heart rates as the body attempts to compensate. So why does this matter for older adults? That CO2 buildup triggers a state called hypercapnia, where your blood becomes slightly acidic and more viscous, thicker, in other words, making clots more likely. Meanwhile, oxygen levels drop. The brain and heart sense that oxygen deficit and try to push blood harder, raising your blood pressure, stressing your heart, and straining circulation. Here's a few real-world tweaks you can put into practice tonight. Start with a breathable blanket. Think cotton or bamboo fiber. They keep you warm, but still let air flow so you don't wake up sweaty or short of breath. Block the light, not your air supply. Instead of pulling the blanket over your head, slip on a comfortable sleep mask. It gives you that cozy darkness without cutting off oxygen. If you tend to pile on the covers because the room feels chilly, try warming up the room a bit before bed. A slightly warmer room means you won't feel the need to cocoon yourself under a heavy blanket. Make changes gradually. If you're used to covering your head, start by pulling the blanket only up to your shoulders for a week or 2. That small adjustment can help your body adapt without making you feel exposed. For those in middle age, now's the time to break the sleeping under the covers habit. It's not just about comfort, it's about protecting your brain, your blood vessels, and your long-term sleep quality. And remember the red flags: waking up with headaches, feeling dizzy, short of breath, unusually tired, or noticing your memory feels foggy in the morning, especially if you already have heart or lung issues. These could be your body's way of saying it's struggling to get enough oxygen at night. If that's the case, it's worth talking to your doctor sooner rather than later. Sleeping position 3, also extremely dangerous: lying on your back without a pillow head level with the heart. What if I told you, sleeping flat on your back with no pillow head level with your heart can quietly raise pressure in your head, slow venous drainage, and set off a cascade that's unfriendly to an older brain? In clinic, I see this all the time. When the head stays at 0° I, gravity gives you no assist to drain blood from the brain. Intracranial pressure, ICP, drifts up overnight, and you wake with that tight, heavy head. We've known for decades that elevating the head 30 degrees lowers ICP. A 2024 meta-analysis across neuro-ICU studies found 5.6 metuinsights lower ICP at 30 degrees versus flat without hurting brain perfusion. In plain English, a small tilt takes pressure off the system. In fact, the semi-recumbent posture about 30 degrees is the ICU default because it helps brain pressure control and reduces other risks like aspiration. That practice standard rests on multiple physiologic trials. Now, stroke specialists did test head flat versus head up for the first 24 hours after an acute stroke, the large head post trial. Results: No difference in 90-day disability overall. Lying flat can transiently boost arterial inflow for some, but it didn't change outcomes for the average patient. The take-home for healthy sleepers: flat isn't therapeutic, and for older adults, it can aggravate pressure and drainage. Here's the part many people miss. Flat on back sleep worsens sleep apnea, and apnea repeatedly drops oxygen while spiking surges in blood pressure, both bad for clot risk over time. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine notes that positional OSA is common. Apnea-hypopnea severity is about 2x worse supine than on your side, and several cohorts show 40–50% lower respiratory disturbance in lateral positions. The American Heart Association's scientific statements go further: moderate to severe. OSA roughly doubles stroke risk in pooled prospective data, HR 2.0, and OSA is linked to a hypercoagulable state, higher fibrinogen, stickier platelets, and impaired clot breakdown, which can tilt vulnerable patients toward thrombosis. Treating the apnea can improve some of these markers. Put those together, and you see the chain flat head position: more apnea, higher ICP, and poorer venous outflow, a triple hit. An aging brain tolerates poorly. Imaging work backs the mechanic's posture, measurably remodels head and neck vessels, and venous return between sitting and supine positions. Two more practical angles for seniors. First, eyes intraocular pressure IOP rises when you lie flat, and studies show it's highest supine without a pillow. Elevating the head true, bed tilt, not just stacking pillows, lowers IOP compared with flat. That matters for glaucoma risk and those tight behind the eyes mornings. Second, symptoms to respect: morning headaches that are worse, lying down, puffiness around the eyes, brief blurry vision on first standing, or a full head sensation. Classic clues of overnight, ICP, venous congestion, noted in neurology and patient education guidance. If these show up, often change the setup and talk to your clinician. One easy change with a big payoff is to slightly raise the head of your bed, even just 10 to 15 degrees. You can do this with a wedge pillow or an adjustable bed frame. That small tilt reduces pressure in the head and helps blood drain more easily. In fact, ICU data shows that around 30 degrees is the sweet spot for controlling pressure in critical care patients. If you prefer sleeping on your back, swap out thick pillows for a medium or thinner one that still keeps your head slightly above your heart. Lying completely flat can increase pressure in the brain and eyes, so even a small lift matters. For people who snore or have sleep apnea, training yourself to sleep on your side can make a huge difference, sometimes cutting the number of apnea events in half. A body pillow works great, or you can try the tennis ball trick: sew a small pocket on the back of your pajama top and slip a tennis ball inside. It makes back sleeping uncomfortable, so you naturally roll to your side. If you deal with acid reflux, a wedge pillow can pull double duty, reducing nighttime heartburn while also improving blood drainage from the head. And if you have glaucoma or elevated eye pressure, it's better to tilt the entire bed rather than just stacking pillows under your head. That way you avoid bending your neck at an awkward angle while still getting the benefit of lowered eye pressure. Sleep in position 4. Very common among most women. Lying on your right side with your arm tucked under the pillow. When you hug that arm up the shoulder, hikes and the side of the neck gets pressed. That's exactly where the carotid artery blood into the brain and internal jugular vein blood out of the brain run. Add a little head tilt or rotation into the pillow, and you've increased the chance of narrowing those vessels. Anatomical and ultrasound studies show that simply turning the head shifts the internal jugular vein over the carotid and can reduce venous flow. One reason clinicians favor a neutral neck when they need reliable jugular drainage. In short, the more you rotate or compress, the more you risk disturbing brain blood flow, especially on the side you're lying on. Here's why that matters more with age. Many older adults develop carotid sinus hypersensitivity, CSH. The reflex point at the carotid can over-respond to pressure. Tight collars shaving. Even head turning in bed can trigger a drop in blood pressure, lightheadedness, or a brief blackout. Reviews estimate CSH in 10% of healthy community-dwelling older adults and in up to 30% of unexplained syncope in seniors. In a controlled study, head turning provoked significant blood pressure drops in many older participants, particularly those with CSH. So if your pillow or forearm keeps nudging the neck night after night, you can see how trouble adds up. Quick transition. It's not only the artery in, it's the vein out. The brain's venous system is low pressure and easily collapses with external squeeze. Newer Doppler work suggests that on average a lateral position doesn't slash total jugular outflow compared with lying on your back. But that's without a shoulder pillow edge or hand pressing the neck. Local compression is the difference between fine on paper and why does my head feel heavy every morning, and older, stiffer vessels are less forgiving. A story from clinic. Mitzmas, Carlson, 79. Ohio, right side sleeper, right arm under pillow. She'd wake with a temple ache and a 10-minute fog. In a gentle positional ultrasound, we saw the right jugular narrow and a dampened carotid wave form when her shoulder lifted under her head. With the arm supported separately and the neck neutral, the signals normalized, and so did her mornings within 2 weeks. Here's something you can try tonight. Support your head and arms separately. Use a pillow just for your head and a thin pillow or body pillow for your arm and shoulder. This keeps you from tucking your arm under your jaw, which can pinch blood vessels. Check your pillow height. Too high or too low can bend your neck at an awkward angle, putting extra pressure on one side of the neck. The goal is to keep your head, neck, and spine in a straight, natural line. Switch sides during the night. Alternating between left and right keeps one side of your neck from taking all the pressure for hours at a time. If you're middle-aged, now's the time to break the habit of sleeping with your arm under your head. As we age, blood vessels lose flexibility, and what feels harmless now can cause real problems later. Watch for red flags waking up with one-sided headaches, stiffness on one side of the neck, dizziness when you first sit up that heavy head, feeling that eases after coffee, or walking brief moments of blurry vision, or a hand-arm that often goes numb when you put it under your head. If you notice these, especially on the right side, it's time to rethink your sleeping position and pillow setup. Sleeping position 5. Restless, sleeping, frequently tossing and turning. When sleep is broken up by frequent awakenings and constant position changes, your stress sympathetic system fires over and over. Each arousal triggers a brief blood pressure surge, then a dip, then another surge. In a cohort of 102 patients, every plus 110 arousals, hour on the sleep study was linked to higher odds of hypertension, or 1.08, 95%, CI 1.03, 14, even after accounting for apnea severity and oxygen drops, proof that the arousals themselves matter. Here's why that's tougher on older adults. With age, arteries stiffen, and the brain's tiny vessels become less forgiving. Normally, the brain smooths out pressure swings, auto-regulation, but disturbed sleep makes that system sloppy. Studies show impaired cerebral auto-regulation with fragmented sleep, especially in disorders like sleep apnea, linking poor overnight control of flow to a higher stroke vulnerability. Encouragingly restoring stable sleep can improve flow to key brain regions. Zooming out to real-world risk, large epidemiology tells us insomnia isn't just miserable, it's consequential. Compared with people without insomnia, those with insomnia had a 54% higher risk of stroke, adjusted HR 1.54, and among U.S. adults, about 12% report a doctor's diagnosis of chronic insomnia, while 48% of older adults report significant insomnia symptoms. So this isn't rare, especially in the senior years. Blood pressure behavior overnight is the other smoking gun. Sleep disruption increases nocturnal BP variability and creates BP surges during arousals. These surges and irregular nighttime patterns are tied to worse brain outcomes, including higher risk for stroke, and after stroke, greater chance of recurrence when nighttime BP is more erratic. Morning is a danger window. Two cardiovascular events cluster after wake-up as pressure ramps fast from fragmented sleep. A quick patient story. Mr. Henderson, 81, from Illinois, slept 8 hours, but his watch showed 40-50-minute cycles of wakefulness all night. He had morning headaches and rubber leg fatigue by noon. We tightened his sleep schedule, cut caffeine after lunch, dialed his bedroom to 65-68 degrees Celsius, and screened for apnea. He had mild positional OSA. With side sleep coaching and a body pillow, his arousal index fell, his home BP smoothed out, and the headaches vanished within weeks, exactly the direction you'd expect when you calm the overnight surges. The American Heart Association's latest statement underscores this sleep health duration. Timing, regularity, continuity is cardiovascular health. So what can you start doing tonight? First, set a consistent bedtime and wake-up time. Keeping your body clock steady also helps regulate blood pressure. Make your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. Skip alcohol close to bedtime. It can fragment your sleep and make you wake up more often. Cut off caffeine after noon so it doesn't linger in your system. Wind down with something calming, like light reading or gentle stretching, instead of screens or stressful conversations. If you snore or have pauses in breathing while you sleep, get checked. Those brief wake-ups from sleep apnea can spike blood pressure and raise your stroke risk. And if your sleep tracker shows restless nights, treat it as a signal to improve your habits, not something to panic over. Remember, most healthy adults need 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep each night. Watch for warning signs: waking up 3 or 4 times a night, morning headaches, feeling unsteady when you first get up, being sleepy during the day, even if you slept enough, or seeing big swings in your morning blood pressure readings. These are clues your nights aren't as restful as you think, and your blood vessels are already feeling the strain. Sleeping position 6. Sleeping in an overly cold room. What if that crisp, cool bedroom and a floppy neck pillow were quietly squeezing your brain's blood supply every night? When a room is too cold, your body reacts with vasoconstriction. Arteries narrow to conserve heat, driving up blood pressure and making blood a bit stickier, a combo linked to winter spikes in heart events. In fact, cold exposure during sleep increases sympathetic tone and BP, and lower indoor temps, not just outdoor cold track, with higher ischemic heart disease mortality and prothrombotic markers like fibrinogen. The American Heart Association echoes this: cold constricts arteries and can promote clotting, and large U.S. data show winter months nudge systolic BP up 1.7 meter, while BP control rates drop 5%, small numbers that matter in older, stiffer vessels. Now layer in a poor cervical pillow that leaves your neck extended or rotated for hours. Imaging and Doppler studies find that end-range head rotation yarn extension can measurably reduce vertebral artery flow transcranial. Doppler shows flow velocities dipping to a mean 86% of baseline during rotation, and a systematic review reports significant decreases in vertebral and sometimes carotid hemodynamics at maximal rotation or combined extension plus rotation. Even moderate sustained malalignment matters more with age. Head rotation alters carotid jugular geometry and venous outflow characteristics, reminding us position is physiology, not just comfort. The fix is practical. Keep bedrooms cool, but not cold. Most U.S. sleep experts aim for 65 to 68 degrees, and if you're older or have vascular disease, a notch warmer is reasonable. WHO housing guidance sets 18 degrees, 64 degrees minimum, rising to 20 to 91 degrees, around 68-70 degrees for older adults. Just as important, keep the temperature steady through the night in a 3D785 person home. BP study each firm degree fix overnight indoor drop, tracked with an extra 0.85 meter entry dew bump in morning-evening systolic BP difference, and greater indoor temperature swings meant higher day-to-day BP variability, both tied to worse cerebrovascular outcomes over time. For the pillow, aim for neutral neck alignment, chin neither tucked nor tipped up. A medium loft cervical pillow that fills the space from shoulder to jaw. Side sleepers, or supports the natural curve. Back sleepers reduces contact pressures and keeps the head from drifting into end-range angles. Ergonomic studies show pillow height shifts, craniocervical angle, and pressure distribution, with mid-range heights generally rating most comfortable. A quick clinic story. Mr. Thompson, 74, in Minnesota, kept his thermostat at 5812 and slept on a pancake pillow. He woke with a heavy head and brief morning blur. We moved him to 66.6 degrees, about 19 degrees, added a medium-firm cervical pillow, warm socks, to let the body vasodilate peripherally while the room stayed comfortable, and asked him to avoid sleeping with his head cranked to one side. Within 3 weeks, his morning symptoms faded exactly what you'd expect when you remove cold-induced constriction and positional narrowing. Red flags to notice at home: recurring morning dizziness or heavy head-neck stiffness that eases after moving around, brief visual fuzziness on first standing, or BP readings that run higher in the cold months, and calm when the bedroom is warmer and more stable. Those are clues your setup is working against you. Sleeping position 7, very dangerous and should be avoided. Going to bed after overeating or drinking alcohol. When you overeat at night, blood is shunted toward the gut to handle digestion. In older adults with stiffer vessels and slower reflexes, that post-meal redistribution can drop systolic pressure by 20 metric within 2 hours, a condition called postprandial hypotension, PPH. It's common about 20% of healthy adults 65 plus and 30 to 40% of nursing home residents meet criteria. That's not just sleepy after dinner. It's a measurable circulation dip tied to dizziness falls and cerebrovascular stress. Meanwhile, the splanchnic digestive circulation already commands 25 to 30% of your heart's output at rest and ramps up after a meal, so if your baroreflexes are sluggish, more blood parks in the abdomen, and less is available to maintain stable brain perfusion. Alcohol before bed throws gasoline on that fire. Early in the night, alcohol relaxes vessels and may nudge BP down. As it wears off, sympathetic activity rebounds, heart rate rises, and BP surges precisely when your brain expects calm. Controlled lab work shows evening binge drinking amplifies the morning BP surge, a risky swing for older arteries. Large analyses from hypertension and the American Heart Association report a direct linear link between alcohol and higher systolic BP, even at 1 drink day SBP trends, +1. 25 milliquark over 5 years, rising to 4.9 milliquark, around 4 drinks, contour day. There's no safe threshold for BP. Why does this matter for stroke-fragmented sleep from reflux or alcohol, Plus, those post-meal dips and rebound surges create nocturnal BP variability, and higher nighttime variability is independently tied to more cardiovascular events and worse brain outcomes beyond average BP alone. In a large ambulatory BP cohort, people with higher nighttime SBP variability had 41% greater risk of cardiovascular events and 55% greater risk of cardiovascular death. Think of it as yo-yo pressure. The brain's small vessels can't buffer. Here's something you can put into practice starting tonight. Have dinner at least 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. That gives your body time to digest and keeps you from lying down with a full stomach, which can disrupt sleep and raise nighttime blood pressure. Keep your evening meal light. Think plenty of vegetables, lean protein like chicken or fish, and go easy on saturated fats. Heavy, greasy meals can leave you feeling sluggish and make it harder for your body to rest. Skip alcohol for at least 3 hours before bed. If you do drink, have it with food and keep it moderate. Drinking late can spike your heart rate, fragment your sleep, and even raise your risk of nighttime blood pressure surges. Make sure you're well hydrated during the day instead of catching up on fluids at night. Drinking too much water right before bed can lead to multiple bathroom trips that break up your sleep cycle. And if you take blood pressure medication, talk with your doctor about the timing, especially in relation to your dinner and any alcohol. The right schedule can help the medicine work more effectively and reduce side effects while you sleep. Sleeping position 8. Sleeping at irregular hours. When your sleep-wake times swing around your internal clock, the circadian system can't keep hormones, blood pressure, and immune activity in sync. In large U.S. cohorts, irregular sleep timing and duration are linked to higher cardiovascular risk, even after accounting for total hours. Slept. Think of it as stress on the system, independent of how much you sleep. In the multi-ethnic study of atherosclerosis, greater night-to-night irregularity tracked with more subclinical atherosclerosis on imaging an early silent sign your vessels are under strain. Here's the physiology in plain English. Irregular schedules cause circadian misalignment. Your behaviors, sleeping, eating, being active, fall out of sync with the body clock that times cortisol and blood pressure rhythms. Controlled lab studies show that even short-term misalignment raises 24-hour blood pressure and high-sensitivity CRP, a key inflammation marker. In one protocol, the misaligned condition increased waking systolic pressure by about 1 to 22 meters and raised hsCRP small numbers on paper, but meaningful when repeated nightly for years in older arteries. Add the brain to the picture. At night, a healthy system dips blood pressure and keeps cerebral blood flow steady. When sleep is irregular, those overnight pressure patterns get choppy. Recent work shows people with more sleep irregularity have poorer nocturnal BP dipping and greater nighttime BP variability, both tied to worse cerebrovascular outcomes over time. Translation: more yo-yo at night, more stress on small brain vessels. What about hormones? Reviews of human studies find that sleep restriction and circadian misalignment distort the daily cortisol rhythm, flattened or delayed patterns, and are associated with pro-inflammatory signals, e.g., CRP, IL-6. You may not feel inflammation, but your vessels do. Over months to years, that's one plausible pathway from irregular sleep to higher stroke and heart risk. Big picture guidance from U.S. cardiology echoes this. The American Heart Association now frames sleep as multidimensional duration, continuity timing, and regularity, and flags irregularity itself as a modifiable target for cardiovascular prevention, not just an inconvenience. In other words, steady rhythms protect hearts and brains. Quick clinic story for context. Mrs. Green. 72. Ohio bedtime floated between 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. Wake time was all over the map. She had morning headaches, mid-afternoon energy crashes, and jumpy home BP. We set anchors lights out 10:30 p.m., up at 6:30 a.m., morning outdoor light within 30 minutes of waking, no caffeine after noon, and no long naps after 3 p.m. 3 months later, her 24-hour BP trace smoothed out headaches faded, and she felt steadier on her feet, exactly what you'd expect when you stop jerking the circadian wheel. Here's a practical routine. You can start right now. Keep your bedtime and wake-up time within an hour of each other every single day. Yes, even on weekends. Your body clock runs best on consistency, and your heart and brain will thank you for it. Get bright morning light soon after waking to reset your internal clock, and in the last 1 to 2 hours before bed, dim the lights in your home to signal your body it's time to wind down. Have dinner at least 3 hours before bedtime, cut caffeine after lunch, and avoid alcohol in the evening. Keep your bedroom dark, quiet, and cool, ideally between 65, 68 18 to 20. If you nap, keep it under 30 minutes, so it doesn't interfere with your nighttime sleep. For people in midlife, building this routine now is one of the best long-term investments you can make for your heart and brain health as you age. Watch for red flags, waking up tired even after enough hours in bed, morning headaches, big swings in your at-home blood pressure readings from day to day, or feeling like you have jet lag without ever leaving town. If you notice these, especially if you also have diabetes, high blood pressure, or a history of TIA mini-stroke, treat keeping a stable sleep schedule like you would a prescription from your doctor. Sleeping position. 9. Getting too little sleep, less than 6 hours. What if squeezing by on 5 to 6 hours wasn't efficient, but a slow nightly stress test on your arteries and brain? When adults, especially seniors, average under 6 hours, the body stays in a low-grade fight-or-flight mode, inflammation nudges up, blood pressure runs higher, and the delicate lining of your blood vessels, the endothelium, stops working smoothly. In tightly controlled lab studies, even 8 nights of partial sleep restriction cut endothelial function flow, mediated dilation, fell from about 8.6% to 5.2%, a clinically meaningful drop that signals stiffer, more injury-prone vessels. And when researchers randomized healthy adults to restricted sleep, 24-hour blood pressure rose. In women, the increase was striking, +8.0 for 24-hour systolic and +11.3 while asleep, despite identical diets and stable weight. Translation: the sleep loss itself cranked pressure up. Zoom out to real-world risk. A recent meta-analysis pooling prospective cohorts found that short sleep typically, 6H, was linked to 33% higher stroke incidence and 37% higher stroke mortality versus 7 hours evidence that these nightly hits add up over time. Mechanistically, sleep loss turns up inflammatory signals in human experiments. CRP rises with both total and partial sleep deprivation, and IL-6 climbs after multi-night restriction, exactly the biochemical pattern that pushes arteries toward plaque and clot. Add the blood pressure story, and it gets clearer. Prolonged sleep curtailment doesn't just make you tired. It raises 24-hour and sleep time BP and activates sympathetic adrenaline pathways, changes that our small brain vessels dislike. U.S. guidance now treats sleep as a formal cardiovascular vital sign. The American Heart Association's Life's Essential 8 recommends 7 to 9 hours for most adults and 7 to 8 for older adults, because regular adequate sleep protects both heart and brain. A quick clinic story. Mr. Daniels, 68, a retired teacher from Michigan, functioned fine on 5 hours. Then came morning headaches, home BP creeping to 150/90, and a carotid scan showing early plaque. We treated sleep like medicine, fixed lights out, and wake times morning sunlight within 30 minutes of getting up, caffeine cutoff at noon, and a 60-minute wind down with screens off. 4 months later, he averaged 7 hours. BP settled near 132/78, headaches faded, and his energy stopped crashing at 2 p.m. A very common arc when you restore the nightly pressure dip and give the endothelium a break. A simple but powerful habit. Keep your bedtime and wake-up time within an hour of each other, even on weekends. Your body thrives on rhythm, and a steady schedule keeps your internal clock and your blood pressure in check. Get some natural sunlight in the morning to wake up your brain, and in the last 1 to 2 hours before bed, dim the lights at home, so your body starts producing melatonin. Have dinner at least 3 hours before you turn in, and keep alcohol to a minimum. Make your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet, so it feels like a true sleep zone. If you nap, keep it to 20-30 minutes, and finish before mid-afternoon, so it doesn't steal from your night's rest. And if you snore loudly, or have pauses in breathing while you sleep, it's worth getting checked for sleep apnea. Left untreated, it can worsen inflammation and push your blood pressure higher over time. Sleeping position 10. Sleeping for too long, more than 8 to 9 hours. Here's the nuance I share with my patients consistently. Long sleep isn't automatically restorative. In large cohorts, habitual long sleep. 8 to 9 H tracks with higher stroke risk, even after accounting for other factors. Reviews summarizing U.S. and international data report 25% higher ischemic stroke risk for GACHO 8H RR 1.24, 95% CI 1.04 to 1.47, and up to 70% higher for MATSOR 9H RR 1.70, 1.32, 2.21. A multi-ethnic U.S. cohort saw 35-39% higher stroke mortality for people reporting JOT 9H versus 7H. Another widely cited prospective study found oversleepers had 46% higher stroke risk than 6 to 8H sleepers. In short, for many older adults, more isn't always better. Why might too much sleep relate to stroke? Think biology plus behavior. First, long sleep often rides with inflammation. Meta-analyses show higher CRP and IL-6 at the long end of sleep duration signals that make arteries stickier and more prone to plaque and clots. Second, long sleep may be a marker for problems that raise stroke risk on their own: untreated sleep apnea, depression, low activity, or chronic illness. In older adults, spending more time in bed can also mean less daytime movement, worse metabolic health, and higher blood pressure over time, each a nudge toward vascular trouble. And when long sleep pairs with long daytime naps, 90 men to some cohorts report an additional bump in stroke risk. Let me bring this down to earth. Mrs. Alvarez, 76, from Arizona, was routinely sleeping 9.5–10 hours, then dragging through late morning. Her family thought she's just catching up, but her home readings showed more frequent morning BP spikes, and she had nagging headaches. A sleep evaluation uncovered mild OSA and very fragmented sleep. She wasn't sleeping deep, just long. We treated the apnea set, a steady wake-up added morning light, and a 15-minute walk, and trimmed bedtime to target 7.5–8 hours of consolidated sleep. Within 8 weeks, her mornings felt clear, BP variability eased, and her labs, including inflammatory markers, trended better, exactly what we expect when you improve quality and right-size quantity. For context, the American Heart Association's Life's Essential 8 recommends 7 to 9H for adults. 7–8H for many older adults to support heart and brain health. Quick transitions. What should you actually do if you're a long sleeper? Check the why. If you regularly sleep 9H and still feel unrefreshed, screen for sleep apnea, depression, thyroid issues, anemia, or medication side effects. Long sleep can be a signal, not a solution. Apnea is common and very treatable. Prioritize quality over clock time. Anchor consistent bed-wake times, chase morning sunlight within 30 minutes of getting up, and keep the room dark, quiet, cool, 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Better architecture, fewer awakenings, less need to oversleep to feel okay. Cap naps at 20-30 minutes before mid-afternoon. Extra long daytime naps. Long nights have been tied to higher stroke risk in some studies. Move early. A 10 to 20 minute easy walk after waking boosts circulation and sets the body clock. Patients tell me this single habit shortens the time they need in bed. Middle-aged and planning ahead. Lock these habits in now. Vascular resilience shrinks with age, and prevention works best early. What to watch for at home. Waking groggy despite 9-10 hours, morning headaches, ankle swelling, or energy that doesn't turn on until late morning. If your partner notices loud snoring or pauses, that's a red flag. And if you track sleep, pay attention to efficiency and awakenings, not just total time. All right. So, after walking through all 10 sleeping positions that could be quietly harming your brain, your heart, and even your overall health, especially as we age, here's the truth. Sleep is not just time spent in bed. It's an active living process that shapes how you wake up, how you move through your day, and how long you get to enjoy the life you love. Every small change you make tonight, adjusting your pillow, tweaking your sleep posture, keeping your sleep hours in a healthy range, could mean waking up tomorrow with more energy, sharper focus, and a lower risk of serious health problems down the road. So, don't just listen and nod. Take action. Start with one simple change tonight and build from there. And hey, if you found this guide helpful, or if you care about keeping yourself and your loved ones healthier for longer, do me a favor. Hit that like button, share this with someone you care about, and subscribe to Senior Life for more practical life-changing tips you can actually use. Because your best years, they're not behind you. They're right in front of you. And it all starts with how you sleep tonight.